It's JLJ 504 HD once again, back with another video. And this one is dealing with thinking for yourself versus group thought. When you think for yourself, you are mentally free. You're able to put two and two together. You're able to see things as they are. And you pretty much can pull up anything that makes sense and discern those things that don't make any sense. Whereas compared to group thought, you have some restraint. You're pretty much limited into what you can and cannot think about, especially amongst the group. You're forced to think and believe what they think and believe. Anything outside of that will lead to shaming and ridicule. And that puts you in a very precarious position. It's kind of like being on a plantation in your mind, yet you're free. That seems to be the case amongst black people. Physically, we're free, but mentally, we still think we're on the yard. And we've been off the yard for like more than a century and a half. And it pretty much starts, if you're living in the hood, it starts when you're young. As a child, your mind just tends to wander all over the place. You think about comic book heroes, cartoon characters that you see on TV. You want to be Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, the Hulk. You want to make a functional box fan out of a shoebox, or a wrestling ring out of your just for your G.I. Joes and your He-Man, or wanting to be a scientist, wanting to be a mathematician, wanting to be a politician, a judge, or in law enforcement. And when you have ideas amongst family and amongst your peers, you usually get laughed at, made fun of, picked on, just for wanting to do those things. They'll call you weak. Whatever you put together with your own hands, they'll come around and destroy it. They don't consider you hood. To be hood, you basically gotta be tough. Even in, well, it's pretty much the same. If you're not living in the hood, when you're young, you have to learn how to be tough. Not just physically, but mentally. But in this case, as far as the hood goes, physical toughness is the thing. You had to wear that mug on your face, that mean mug, kind of like having your lips shaped like a boot on the side of your mouth with your teeth showing. In New Orleans, we call that booting up. You see what I mean? But as far as being mentally tough, for the hood, in a sense, that might help. But as far as being mentally tough on the logical, book smart sense, nah. That's not the thing to be in the hood. Which is sad. Because if we had put both of those things together, no one could mess with us. And if the civil rights generation would have thought well enough to see beyond marching, fighting, and singing hymns, and practice group economics, so where we had control of politics, justice, how the media portrays us on a regular basis, and how our children are educated. Then and only then we can really say we're equal. But unfortunately, that's not the case. After government assistance, feminism, and the father being chased out of the home, thinking for yourself isn't even the thing to do in the hood. Especially amongst your peers. You can't say you like science. You can't say you like being a bookworm. And to a certain extent, you can't say you like comic books. And it most certainly don't want to hear you say you want to be in law enforcement. And we already know because of our dealings with law enforcement and how they deal with us. For us, the hood mindset, it always come down to ratchetness. You always have to wear a mean mug. You always gotta stay booted up in the face. You always gotta be a ruffian. You have always gotta do stuff that's counterproductive. Even to the point where they land you either in the cemetery or the penitentiary. For the chicks, it's kind of the same thing, especially being raised in a female headed household. And with this feministic, gynocentric mentality to where the mother don't need a man, and she could do bad by herself, that's the thing they teach to their daughters. And now it's gotten to a point where they're exhibiting masculine traits. They're always loud capping you and wanting to fight, even swinging at dudes you as a man yourself don't want to fight. But they love to get it on in the bedroom. Where there be random blow. That's where they. And then come another generation of single mothers. And the absentee father. Most of which aren't deadbeats because it has been shown and proven that even separated from the mother, we are the best fathers and the best stewards of our children. And that's where logic comes into play. We know what we want for our children, and we know what the consequences are if we don't get involved. And that includes doing some intellectual and financial heavy lifting. And I was pretty much affected by that stigma. Because I get looks from people when I try to correct them. I get messed with, teased for me wanting to draw my own comic books. For me building a box fan out of a shoebox, which I later did 30 years later, pretty much out of boredom, just to see that I could still do it, which I did. I get praised for that now on social media. Because those things took thought. It didn't just happen right out of the blue. It didn't happen by chance. I literally had to figure that out. But at the same time, I didn't know how bad of an idea that was amongst your peers. And dealing with certain things at home as well. Kind of make you use the very things you like as an escape at the expense of your own academics. Which is why I went from being on the honor roll in the 4th grade to flunking 5th grade and struggling the rest of the way. I did graduate, high school that is, but I didn't finish college. Because I pretty much carried that with me. Because my intellect was being hit by outside influences, which led me to make my own comfort zone. Being in a place which I call the wonderful world of never ever whatever land. I pretty much had to keep all of my thoughts and my beliefs to myself, especially when I got a hold of books like Message to the Black Man, fall of America, the ISIS papers, and both of Shahrazad Ali's books. I wanted to spread the word about what I read. But once again, I had to fear possible blowback. People would tell me, you talking crazy. When I know what they're doing is detrimental not only to their health, but the health of the overall society that makes up 13% of the United States population, all 40 million plus of us. Because of groupthink. Politics, after we had fought and bled and died for that right to vote, I started asking a lot of questions, mainly to myself, as time was going on. At first, I actually thought that once we fought for the right to vote, then we'd get involved in the voting process. Process to where we pick and choose whatever candidate for a particular seat, regardless of what party they represent. But after seeing what black people was doing, especially the last 12 years, who told us to only vote Democrat? And why should we have to vote Democrat? Even though prior to the 1960s, the majority of us sided with the Republicans, mainly because of the Emancipation Proclamation. And this is where our thinking of politics start to wane. We was giving government assistance like welfare, food stamps, Section 8, all those little trinkets for us to get by, but not enough to get over. And this is where it all began. And the president who gave us those goodies was number 36, Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was reportedly said that he'll have us voting Democrat in the next 200 years. And so far, he's on par with that prediction. Because that's where we were voting the last 60 years. And our hatred with the Republicans came with Richard Nixon, number 37. Because of what happened with him and Watergate. And from there, we hated him, Gerald Ford, Ronald Reagan, Bush Sr., Bush Jr., and now Donald Trump. Which I find kind of ironic that the same people who hate Donald Trump now were the same ones that liked him back in the 80s and 90s. Some wanted to be like him. Others mention him in a song. And he even appeared in our favorite rap videos and our favorite sitcoms. But who we started to like after JFK and LBJ? Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama. Especially Barack Obama, number 44. We starting to like him because he was a darker shade, in truth, he's mixed. His father was a black Kenyan, and his mother was a Caucasian from Kansas. And this was the first time ever in our history that we finally seen someone who was considered black as leader of the free world. And then I noticed something else. We started to look at him as if he was a Messiah, a deity-like figure. Kind of like Jesus Christ. And I find it kind of weird. It got to a point where all free thought just went clean out the window. clean out the window. And that has emboldened the race soldiers. While we're staring at them all starry-eyed, we lost Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland, Rekia Boyd, Alton Sterling, Walter Scott, Mike Brown, Eric Garner, Philando Castile, and many others on his watch. And no one giving much thought as to why our insistence on voting only Democrat had kind of restricted us in our free thinking. So where if we see another Democrat who haven't, another politician who happens to be Democrat, who is better than who others think is popular, you might get some blowback from that. But if you go the Republican route, everybody gonna throw the bus at you. Never mind getting thrown under the bus, they trying to throw the entire bus at you. Especially now. Which goes back to their sudden hatred for Trump. And I'm thinking to myself, why are they hating him now? Oh, I know. We were told to do so. And we go to the polls like with every other politician. We go vote willy-nilly. Just picking anybody. Just because we don't like this person. And we never bother to look at their records, see what they're about. We just going by what they tell us. And that in and of itself is sad. And I mean sad. Nobody wants to admit it. Little critical thinking skills, we literally put that on the back burner for whatever reason. Just like this picture I just put up fly. This is how we looked at 44. And this is how we looking at the former vice president, who will be the 46th, and the female as the vice president. If we forgot about the female vice president in her failed presidential run, she went on the Breakfast Club talking about how she smoked weed in college and listened to Tupac and Snoop when both of them was still in elementary school and didn't have an album out. And this was like the early 1980s, the Jerry Curl era. And then she called the very man who the Democratic representative for the primaries. Call him a racist, this and that. And now she's being picked by that same guy to be his running mate. And not one of us bothered to ask the question, why did he do that? And we didn't even bother to think as to why she shouldn't be his running mate. And why is he running? He's showing signs of health issues. And just like me asking a question about that, instead of those who flooded up my comment section wanting to know about the 94 crime bill, they took it as if I cursed out God when I asked a simple question. Is he going to talk about the 94 crime bill, and will he publicly condemn it? And all I get it is the Love and Hip Hop LeBron group trying to lecture me on politics, something they themselves don't follow. I know because I always check my timeline. Where were y'all when I called Trump President Tangerine or Agent Orange? Two likes, two comments. And now that I see Trump for who he is, I don't even talk bad about him. Because with the help of some content creators online, the ones who I view on a regular and consistent basis, and those of you who watching, you know who I'm talking about. They gave me some game about things about the current sitting president that I didn't know about, and they said some things that I already knew all along. And how did they know? They went and did the research. They went and cross-referenced. And they got me and other men and the rest of us who viewed that content just like when they was talking about manhood and all the and all the other stuff, what we need to do as men, and why we had this space solely for men, black men, to where we could air out our grievances and come up with solutions. And that caused me and many others to think on the fly. But I'm getting ridiculed for asking a question about the 94 crime bill. And I'm being lectured about our people fighting and bleeding for the right to vote. I mean, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Absolutely nothing. These are the many people who scared or refuse to do any intellectual heavy lifting for fear that the ideology that they was going to get busted. Their belief system is going to get busted. Like they like they say, truth hurts. 'Cause if they did any intellectual heavy lifting, they'll find out the truth about who and what they hate and who and what they like. And those things require change. And those are the type of things that got me out of this never ever whatever land that I created for myself. Just to stay in my comfort zone. Because back then when I was younger, I was shy, hyper masculine, over emotional, awkward, and almost socially absent. Couldn't speak my mind, or fear of being ridiculed. And me now, I am more masculine. I don't I don't lead with my feelings. I lead with logic, and on top of that, I'm a bit more opinionated. Cause I say what's on my mind, whether online or in public, without a care in the world. Even if it includes politics. I'm not going back to never ever whatever land. And you know what the irony is about that? There was some amongst my peer group when we were younger used to clown me for that. Now they're becoming the 2021 reincarnation. And with me talking the way I do, and have been talking even since the mid 1990s, will be the same person I was before. As if I didn't went through anything. And to me, it's sad. So I would much rather leave what I think and know about in a handbasket. Just to keep from giving it to the masses because most of us in that 13 percentile, you just cannot help. I just leave it alone and speak on what I know to those who are willing to hear it. I can't deal with those who want to stay being stuck in never ever whatever land. Because those presidential debates and the election itself left me with a migraine to where I can barely see. I mean, my head was hurting for days. So I had to find something just to get rid of that pain. Because it's painful to deal with those who are not willing and just flat out refuse to think for themselves. But yet, those of us who are thinking outside the box, looking to do something to change the world, but we quick to tell them that's a pipe dream. Heck, you know what was a pipe dream? Having the first black president, and we saw that in 2008 when it came to fruition. And there was a time we thought when hip hop first came out, we saw that as a fad and not thinking it'll go beyond that. Hip hop is now global and a multi-million dollar, probably a multi-billion dollar industry. Probably a multi-billion dollar industry. We need to stop being stuck. We're going along with what the group thinks, which has proven to be counterproductive. And learn to think for yourself. Looking at the pros and the cons, seeing what works and what won't work. And even if there's a disagreement, we'll try to work through it to see if there's any commonality. I'm not taking that ride with everybody else. And some of you, if not all of you, who don't want to take part, you shouldn't either. Free your mind and you know what will follow. That's all I got to say. And I'm done. Catch you on the next one. That's if I decide to do one. Likely I will. Just stay tuned.